everyone. Welcome to the latest installment of MSP Business School. As always, I'm Brian Doyle.
I'm Tim McNeil.
And I'm Rob Rogers.
And Rob Rogers is always happy to see all of you, man. So,
I love catching up with you guys.
It is, if people remember, that's the whole reason we kicked this thing off to begin with, right? I think we started this literally week 2 of COVID.
Yeah.
And we only kicked it off because we were like, who knows what's going on? But at least this will force the three of us to get on a phone every once in a while.
Give us something to do.
165 episodes later, you guys keep telling us you want us to make more. So thank you.
Yeah, Brian's still putting up with us.
Not at all. You guys are putting up with me, man. You know how it goes. But we've had a busy few weeks. The three of us, we've all been kind of wrapping up some of our pitch it duties, at least the preliminary rounds, and for both myself and our two guests who I'll introduce in a moment, we've just completed an integration. So it's not often we kick off a podcast with people that I've seen quite regularly heading into the call. But with that being said, I want to introduce our guests today. We've got Matt Koenig and we've got Frank Raimondi from Nodeware.
The heavy hitters.
Yeah, we brought the A team.
Oh, you call me heavy? Is that what you said there, Rob? Wait a second.
Heavy hitter.
Hey, I don't know what it looks like on your screen, but there's a reason I'm center square, and that's because it's like I'm like the lineman. You guys are coming in as the skills players. But anyway,
thanks for having us on. It's great to chat with you guys.
Yeah, you guys are a fun bunch, and we're loving to get to know you guys better, both personally, but also from a business perspective. And I think we're all cut from the same cloth, right? We got to protect what we've got for our customers. We've got to make sure we're doing right by them, but we also got to go sell a few things, right? And a big theme here at MSP Business School is go out and sell. So. This is a collective group of guys that are nonstop trying to build some business. So we'll talk a little bit about that today, but I'm going to stop talking and maybe throw it to you first, Matt. Tell us a little bit about how you got into the MSP industry, a little bit of your backstory so people who don't know you, which is very few, can get a little more familiar.
Start with that drum set right there.
I've been drumming since I've been about 8.
Nice.
So I played in all kinds of bands. I played at Disney for 3 years. Now I'm down to 2 drum sets versus 6. And I just do some recording work for friends now. By the way, do you know you can record an entire song over the internet? I did not know that till COVID. That was awesome.
People were collaborating everywhere, sending their stuff over the internet. It was an amazing time.
Oh my God, they send me a file on an electronic drum set. I hook up the computer, lay down the track, send it back. He puts it together and it's like I was there.
All right. Well, I got to throw something out before you go deeper into your conversation. So you played 3 years at Disney. That means you got to see the backside of the House of the Mouse.
Oh, yeah.
And, I always love telling this story. One of my favorite things as a vendor, we used to support Disney when I was in the MSP space. You'd go to Disney, and I love that every backstage has a mirror that basically looks at you and says, smile or game on and all that kind of stuff. And you'd watch all these employees come in looking like this, and then immediately seeing that mirror and, hey, the Disney comes out. So cast member, I should say, not employee, but that's awesome. So
my favorite story was, being a drummer, I played in all kinds of different shows. And I won't say exactly what they said, but you'd be amazed what princesses doing this on a float are actually saying under their breath while they're smiling.
That does not surprise me.
Those are good times.
So all you kids listening, we've just killed the Disney magic for you.
Oh, no, it's still magical. It's just magical in a different way.
Like most things as we get older, right?
Uh-huh.
But so continue on, Matt. Tell us a little bit more about, kind of how you arrived here, because certainly coming from music into MSP.
Sure. No, I kind of tripped into it, to be honest. I started my career at the big boys of the world, the SHIs, the Pomeroys, as a sales rep, and moved up to the ranks in sales management because I got sick of going door to door. It was driving me crazy. But then all of a sudden I got a call one day and said, hey, you'd be perfect for this role. Will you talk to me? Sure. Turned out to be rapid fire tools. So the quick funny story there is I was brought in as the first sales manager. They said, here's your team. This was not a team. These were telemarketers. And when I say telemarketers, I mean your A through H, your I through whatever. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I started to train them up as best as I could with what their knowledge base was. My boss comes in one day. Now, this was not part of the deal. He comes in one day and goes, "You're pretty good at that presentation stuff." I'm like, "Thanks."
Yeah.
Here's a
What does that
presentation.
mean?
You're in California next week. Go. So next thing I know, as I'm building out the entire sales infrastructure, I'm also doing 50 shows a year and speaking all over the place. So, I mean, I kind of tripped into it. And then we built the place, Kaseya bought us, and I just moved on from there. And it's turning out my specialty is really taking companies that are either fledgling in the channel or, haven't gotten where they want to go and moving them forward from a sales, marketing standpoint, branding, all that kind of stuff. So some of them I drag kicking and screaming, but for the most part, they
No
actually pay
comment.
me to
For
do
the
my
most part,
job.
it works.
No, it's been a blast. Honestly, the last time I was in between gigs, had a bunch of people call me up that were outside the channel. And, a lot of the offers were real tempting money-wise, but I love the channel. I love helping MSPs. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but in between gigs, I always do consulting with MSPs on selling and marketing and stuff like that. And I teach that, as you've seen, on the road and everything. I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's one of my favorite things about this industry, quite candidly, is the fact that it's a bunch of go-givers for the most part, right? People are really trying to help other people succeed. People are trying to rise up. You don't really hear, there's competitiveness, of course, everywhere, but it doesn't mean that it's a negative competitiveness, both at the MSP level and regions, and certainly at the vendor level. We're as much cooperators as we're competitors, if, of those of us that have similar tools. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a huge industry, small community. You have to do right by each other or you're done. I mean, it gets out real quick if you're in it just for yourself.
All right. So now let's give Frank a chance to share his backstory.
Yeah.
Frank,
well,
if you guys remember, Frank did come on the podcast once upon a
it's
time
been on the-
ago. It was
That's right,
probably
that's right.
almost 2 years
At least
ago.
once, maybe
beginning of the
twice.
year, if I remember right.
That's right.
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
just cutting our
Yeah.
teeth probably at that point in time.
Yeah, it was just like, what's your name? What do you do? Yeah.
But,
So yeah, so it's kind of a long and wild case. So I started overseas. Had a lot of international background. I did a year in college overseas in Norway. So if anybody
Oh, wow.
on the calls, Norge kan det bli snacka lite norsk. But otherwise,
Just they stick something in the door.
He literally
I'm
just
not gonna-
came in
I'm
and
not gonna
one-upped
tell you what I
everybody.
said. You have to go. Go Google Translate and you can figure it
I
out.
don't know. I heard door in there somewhere.
So anyway, I've done a lot of international work, kind of mostly really on the manufacturer side. Started with some consulting with vendors, and then worked for Apple Computer back in
Wow.
the middle years of Jobs' time. So I wasn't there when Jobs was there in between his cycle, and then went to Intel Corporation. Was there for a long stint, left for a couple of years, went to distribution, worked for Cinex, and then was out on my own a bit more, and then went back to Intel for another 5.5 years, and got an early retirement package back in 2016, and did a lot of consulting around, again, mostly on the vendor side, and all the way along that path has been kind of on the partner side, or partner programs, partner events, and most, I guess I would say, successfully is around alliance building and partnerships.
Wow.
So really sort of as a big company, Intel, right? Intel drove the path of the process and everybody followed. Well, I was kind of working with all the followers and getting them to partner together. Even though, as an example, even though Intel made motherboards for a long period of time, I worked with ASUS and Gigabyte and MSI and all of them on helping them participate, helping them follow the path. And so that kind of mentality of, all for one for all kind of industry sort of mantra, if you will, 1 + 1 = 3, has really been kind of what I've driven for. And that's, looking at our partnership with vCIOToolbox, right, is really, we're two independent, driving different things, but very related, but these things work together. Why don't we make it easy for an MSP to use them together, make it easy for them to help their customers, provide stickiness, provide real value, is kind of really what I've really driven with and for. So with Nodeware, been a little over 2.5 years about working with them, both contract and then as an employee, and working side by side with Matthew. We're kind of the yin and yang of a vendor world, where he's in the spotlight and sort of driving the messaging on that way, and I'm driving partnerships and distribution and alliance that enables process and sales to happen. So
Basically,
really,
we're both doing what the other one doesn't like.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
I didn't say anything. I'm not making any comments.
I mean, I will say this though. One of the things that's always fascinated me and that I love about the way our relationship is formed is there are too many companies out there that are trying to be too many things to too many people, right? They feel they have to fill that slot and have 20. I think of it as a game console, right? They want to be the game console, but also have 42 games. And there's no reason for that. If you make good partnerships, you win either way, because either they want to buy you altogether because of the solution you offer, or they have the idea or ability to buy you individually if that's all they need. So it's a win-win for us, and it's a win-win for them. I just don't understand the concept of trying to put 500 features in a piece of software.
We could have a whole different half hour on that concept, but I think what it really comes down to is pick your lane, get your mission, tell your story, and then find the people that help complement your story around you. Absolutely. And then that's where the integrations are born. There are GRC tools that have scanners built into them, but that requires a whole different team with a whole different skill set. And that would slow down, in our world, we see it slowing down the progress of continuing to build on the mission that we're trying to take to the channel. So why do that when there's, good partners to get in there? And, that gets into the whole ecosystem side of the story that, we'll have you guys back, because I think we should do a big partner roundtable on ecosystem alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the way I'm looking at, alliances and partnerships and integrations, right? There's, sometimes it's just, an ability for a company to receive our data, as an example, right? In other cases, it's, the full integration with vCIOToolbox, right? Where everything's there and it integrates into other deliverables. And so, I'm looking at, all kinds of different ways, as Matthew said, sort of be where the buyer wants to buy, right? And the way that they want to buy, and try to make it as easy for them to do that. So that's really our mission, is the flexibility and ease of use, ease of buying, and ease of delivery to their customers.
So I don't want to make it a pitch, but real quick, what are you guys doing right now for everybody? Like, we haven't really talked about that. We've talked about your backgrounds and everything, but what are you guys doing right now, and how is it integrated into vCIOToolbox?
I'm sitting at my house getting in trouble with my wife because I'm home. And she can't wait to throw me out again.
Banging on the drums. Got it.
Normal. Yeah, got it.
No, I mean, Nodeware is a cool tool. I mean, traditional vulnerability scanning is hard. It takes up resources. It's expensive. You're not getting everything. Nodeware is continuous vulnerability scanning. You don't have to plan it. You don't have to take a box out to someone. You're not working from hundreds of pages of reports. So basically, we give, we were made for MSPs, and we give them the ability to find and remediate vulnerabilities 4 to 5 times quicker than they would with traditional vulnerability scanning, and use less resources to do it.
Well, and I think the piece of that has, I think, probably some of the most values. One on the front end is the ease of deployment, right? Just if an MSP can put it out, if Matthew can do it, anybody can do it. 20 minutes, an MSP can be up and running, collecting data on their customer. One, again, it's identifying assets, right, that they forgot about they had or didn't know they had. I mean, the number of MSPs that come back to us and say, oh, you know what? I thought we only had 30, but we actually found 45 devices on our network. Duh. Well, those 15 have been forgotten about They probably have all kinds of vulnerabilities and out of date patch, issues. And so, what we're really delivering is ability for an MSP to look at their customers' assets. So again, from everything from, IP cameras on the edge to the servers and everything in between to, Matthew's favorite example, the Roomba that's on, that has an IP address on the network that's being captured and identified. And, put that into a business sense, you've got a legal department that wants to bring in their own printer just because, they want extra confidentiality. Well, I got a deal over the weekend. I'm going to plug it in and boom. Right. Well, hello. Right. That's a problem if you don't know that's on the network. And it hasn't been sort of managed to protect their ports and all the rest of the stuff.
What my favorite thing is? The guy that called me up one day that did a POC and told me I was a dirty word. I won't curse here because it's not polite, but I was like,
others have.
Yeah, you wouldn't be the first. It's fine.
Okay, I mean, I'm okay being an asshole, but tell me why at least. I mean, at least my wife even tells me why. And he basically said what Frank said, which is I put it out there, and I thought we had about 100 assets, and it came back with a little over 400. And I said, well, why are you mad at me? He goes, well, I'm not literally mad at you, but you're the one who made me run the software. I should have known about those.
Mad that he called him out on the fact that he's got 300 extra units that he doesn't know about.
Exactly. It was funny. He's like, you're not really the problem, but your software's a problem.
Yeah.
But if you think about it from a practical operations standpoint, right? If you're not identifying where those rogue assets are, and then you've got a problem that creeps up on your network, some sort of incident or something like that, you're never going to find that needle in the haystack if you don't know where the needle is. And it looks like we lost Frank here for a moment, so we're going to let Matt carry it on.
Okay.
I'm sure he'll be back to us.
I don't think I can. I'm shy.
Play the drums for a minute.
We were going to vamp while you were gone, Frank.
That's right.
I was like, man, I'm sure Matthew just said all kinds of bad things about me, but
we didn't have enough time. He only cut to 1 or 2 lines real quick. But Frank, you were bringing some stuff up before the call too, and kind of just about basic cyber hygiene too, right? I know, one of the questions you mentioned, Rob, is how does it work with us? And really, they're feeding us with the evidence we need to prove out compliance. And a lot of it's because they're taking care of step number 1. And I'll let you take that over, Frank.
Yeah. So step 1 is maybe I cut off before I finished my sentence, but identifying the assets and the devices that are on a network, right? You can't protect what you don't know and can't see. So that's really the first step. And this cyber hygiene concept really plays into the compliance, right? Not everybody needs to do compliance and full GRC. So you got a whole world of people that just need the basics, right? And those basics really are, in our view, vulnerability management, right? Identifying and looking for the risks and vulnerabilities that are there, right? They're in every system. It's just a matter of their criticality. You need to do MFA, right? I mean, if you're not doing MFA, then you're just open yourself up to all kinds of problems, right? So that's sort of the second piece. And the third piece, which is really kind of more of a longer term play, is on security awareness training, right? If you just have to, you have to be delivering that. The end user might go to get it directly, but really there's plenty of tools like Hackware and
security.
I mean, there's all kinds of tools there that provide that. But you got to, if you're not educating your employees to, on all their ramifications. So those 3 steps, or those 3 legs of this tool, really kind of, we base, really promote this cyber hygiene, right? Because wherever you're at, whatever security stack you have, you got to have those, and maybe you need even more, right? That's kind of your starting point. And then you define by customer what's the next thing they need, whether it's better firewalls, or maybe it's XDR, MDR, EDR, whatever DR you want, right? There's pieces that you build and sophistications you build, but if you can't start with those three legs, it's almost you're fighting a losing battle.
But those 3 legs are
listeners come forward and go, what about antivirus, anti-spamware, firewalls? This is above and beyond. Right?
We're assuming you already have that, right?
Yeah, we're making assumptions, and you know what happens then.
But when you really look at it, though, it's also the changing of the landscape of our end users. Yes, not everybody requires compliance. They're not all regulatory bound, but these days it's really more of a cyber liability conversation, and what needs to be satisfied to get your cyber liability. I know, Frank, we talked about this in a webinar we did earlier this week, but it's going past just being a finable offense and becoming a criminal offense. If you fabricate your application, and then you have a breach and you get paid for that breach, and then you're found to have fraudulently answered that application. Now you've went from just paying a fine to now you're going to potentially be prosecuted.
You got problems.
And you could even lose business because a lot of these insurance
Reputation
companies,
risk, right?
well, a lot of these insurance companies now are looking at you and saying, you know, I'm the end user. I'm talking directly to the insurance company. They say, do you do these things? I say, I don't know. Or for whatever the reason, half of them don't go, let me check with my MSP. Talk to dozens of MSPs where the insurance company has sent out their own MSP. And they're involved in the account and they're doing stuff. And all of a sudden their current MSP goes, huh?
Yeah.
What's going on
What's
here?
that? Wait a minute. Who are you?
You know, if they're not having these conversations, you know, as you just pointed out, they're making themselves liable, but two, they're setting themselves up to lose business on top of it. So
Somebody's having those conversations with your client.
Exactly. Yeah, that's really the point. The fear of not, you know, I remember early on when we were just really starting to promote Nodeware in the channel, and you know, a couple of MSPs says, well, but if I use your tool, that means I find everything, and that means I have to go do things, and I have to, you know, I'm worried about the findings, and
that is
if
my
something
favorite line.
happens,
That's hilarious.
you know, if something happens in the meantime before I fix it, then I'm going to be liable. I don't want to be liable. I don't want to know. You know, it's like stick your head in the sand and hide.
It always works.
Yeah.
Always works.
If ever
That
there
is
is
my
reason to
favorite
not do
line. We had
something,
someone do that
it's
yesterday.
because you don't want
I
to
found
do
too
it.
many things. I have no idea what I'm going to do. And it's like, well, like anything in life, prioritize. Oh, you can't do it all in one day. So do 5 a day, do 10 a day. I mean, really? And like you said, you're just going to forget about it? Oh, that's a much better plan.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll go away.
And, you know, that's really where we see it, you know, to kind of close out on this topic. That's where we see it, you know, from our purview in vCIOToolbox, it enhances some other product lifecycle management tasks that have to be done. You know, you're going beyond just looking at warranty, you know, your age factors, those things. Now you're looking at, hey, what's my risk on this asset too? You know, what are the vulnerabilities included? And that was one of the surprising additions we were able to put into it when we integrated you. We really looked at Nodeware as an evidence tool, you know, helping to support the compliance requirements from vulnerability scanning standpoint. Didn't really understand that we were going to be able to enhance the asset reporting and the asset experience in the process. So,
well, we see that with a lot of, particularly on a you know, a new rollout, right, or prospecting purposes, right? They you know, they run a trial, they've run some data, and they see 3 systems that really are so badly out of date that, you know, the MSP says, you know what, until we fix these on a separate SOW, right, we're not going to take you on. We're not going to start managing your cyber until you've taken care of these things. So there's a you know, an extra opportunity to do this, you know, in kind of old traditional partner world of hardware.
Everybody's got to manage risk these days, right? You know, just getting a customer for customer's sake is not going to work anymore. And then work them over time. You got to get them where you need to be to take them these days to reduce the risk for you. So good stuff. Well, guys, I know, you know, besides being regular road warriors, I'm sure half our listeners have met both of you guys at some point in time. You've got some really big travel coming up soon. And for some of our listeners, this is going to be really exciting.
Yeah, so we've got 2 trips coming up that'll be awesome. First one's at the end of October in Melbourne. It's called SMBIT Pro, and it's a group of—
Not Melbourne, Florida, Melbourne, Australia.
Yeah.
Just to be
Melbourne. No, but that's Melbourne.
The other side of the world.
And it's a consortium of about 150 MSPs that all band together, work together, and help each other out. And one of the reasons we're going over there is their Essential 8, which is their GDPR, was just given teeth. And all of a sudden, everybody's scrambling to something that they thought about before is now something they have to do. And then the second one, after IT Nation, is we're going back to Sydney, and we're doing Kaseya APAC, so DataCon and APAC. So if you guys are out there, come say hi to us. We don't bite. We're nice people, and we'd love to talk to you and see how we can help you make your customers more secure and make sure you're meeting the Essential 8 policies.
Yeah, we've got a great group of listeners down in the Australian area, and I know Essential 8, just from the conversations I'm having directly with our customers, has really taken off And they're excited about it down there because they said, really, we tend to be about 4 years behind the States on a lot of these new initiatives. But when it comes to cyber, we should not be behind. So this is, really good stuff. And then we'll all see each other, the 5 of us down at IT Nation, I think. So that's going to be fun. Little party to get down to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got our booth. Got everything all ready. Ready to go.
That's okay.
All
Evidently, I get it, DattoCon this week. One last thing that'll make you laugh. I get a 1-minute pitch. Okay, on stage. Where did we learn all about that recently?
Yeah. And we all had to get much better at it. I got hit with the 30-second pitch by Sean Lardo originally. Man, that did not go well. 30 seconds is just not enough time.
Yeah.
But cool. Well, hey guys, really appreciate you coming on. Rob, I think you got some tidbits for us.
Yep. Just want to kind of close it down. We really appreciate having you guys on the show today. For anybody that is looking to get a hold of these guys, we will have all their LinkedIn information to include their website and any information you may have on the tile for the podcast. It'll also be up on MSP Business School and anywhere that you get your podcast. So please, that includes YouTube. So please go there, like, subscribe. We'd appreciate it. Fellas, Frank, Matt, the yin and yang of Nodeware. We appreciate it, fellas.
You
Have
bet.
a great afternoon.
It's been a great time.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thanks for having us
Coming
on.
Guys, appreciate you being here.
Yeah.